Tammy, can you share a bit of your backstory with us?
I got into web development because I've always been, first of all, interested in starting a business. I had the pleasure of working with two small businesses, and it really taught me a lot about how businesses were run.
Hmm.
I really liked the lifestyles of the business owners, how flexible their lives were, and while they still earned a very good salary and they were still able to take long lunches.
Hmm.
Basically, they could do whatever they wanted, and
Yeah.
that was something that I wanted. So fast forward to getting married and having a child. Now was thrusted with deciding whether I wanted to have a career or if I wanted to stay home. I decided that now was the time to pursue business ownership because
So
this would
was
fulfill
that,
both desires.
yeah, absolutely. And was that because, I mean, obviously now we know that you're running a Divi-centered business and you do web
Hmm.
design development. When you decided to become an entrepreneur, was that the first option or did you have other things in mind?
I didn't know what to do at that point. I just know that I needed to do something. We were kind of cash strapped, just married, only 23, and we just had a baby. And at that time, the home-based business, the buzz was around, and my husband and I thought, well, let's go get a computer system and find something to do with it.
And what
So
year was this, if you
this
don't
was
mind me asking?
1995.
1995, got a
Yes.
computer,
We bought a
and
computer and decided let's explore a few different things. I started off doing business services for people, did bookkeeping with Peachtree and help businesses keep their books. And I'm trying to remember the origins of when I found web development being interesting. Once I did, that was about 1996. I decided, okay, let's go to
so
the bookstore.
a few years
And
in, or wait,
yes,
you said 95 is when you started?
yes.
And
So
so,
about a year later,
okay, so about a year later, you've been doing some bookkeeping, you've been doing
yes.
some just kind of just hustle work probably, like
Basically,
just
yes.
looking around and going, what can I do for people with this machine?
Yes, basically. So I would say around 96, I really fell in love with multimedia.
Hmm.
That's when macromedia was
Oh,
huge.
right, yeah.
Oh my goodness,
I
that
mean,
was
that
so
was a little before
exciting.
my time on getting into that stuff, but I remember those software suites.
Yes. So I kind of delved into a little macromedia
Hmm.
shockwave, and then I discovered that web design was really kicking off. So I went and bought tutorial books and started teaching myself HTML back
Oh,
in
wow.
'96. And from that, I moved to using like Microsoft Front Page and Publisher.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm gonna say right around I'm gonna say about 2004. I just started hand coding with Dreamweaver, and I kind of put aside the website builders like Microsoft Publisher. Took some time off to work about 2005.
Hmm.
I was hired to work full time as a programmer at learning management's company. We provided simulation training for the military, and my job was to work on the learning management system and create panels, simulation training panels for really the Canadian Air Force. So that was really a lot of fun. And during this time period, I kept my web design business alive. I didn't want to let that go. I never did. So
So what was that first? How did you start getting into web design as a business? So you got into web design,
mhm.
I'm assuming just to see what it was like and if you could do it. And once you
Yes.
figured out that, hey, this is something I can do, I am capable. How long were you doing, I guess, hand coded websites or static websites until you came across WordPress?
I was doing hand coded websites for about 11 years before I
Wow.
came
Okay.
around to WordPress. Before I started using WordPress, I'd used Drupal and
Mm.
Joomla.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
then I discovered that WordPress had better search engine rankings,
Mm.
and eventually started to get all of my clients off Joomla and into WordPress. So I started using WordPress around 2009 and Divi around 2014.
Yeah, because it came out right at the end of 2013. So,
Hmm.
yeah. And how did that change things?
Oh my goodness. I think right around that time, I was a little burned out of web
Mm,
design and was considering starting a different kind of business and just kind of maintaining my existing clients.
yeah.
I ran across a website that just really wowed me and discovered it was made with Divi.
Oh,
And
nice.
that's when I decided to go ahead and buy a subscription to Elegant Themes. And before you know it, I was lost in it again.
That's awesome. Well, let's go ahead and start to transition the conversation into our main theme, which is playing the long game. And we're going to talk more about Divi as we get into that. But I kind of want to set up this idea of playing the long game real quick. And I have a bit of a random question to do that. Um, do you follow Humans of New York on Facebook? Have you
No,
ever heard of it?
I have. I've
Okay.
seen people share the post, but I've
Yeah.
never followed.
So it's this really cool project for everyone who's listening as well. It's a really cool project by a photographer out of New York City where he interviews, I guess, random people around the city, and then he takes their portrait and he juxtaposes their portrait with a part of their interview as just a simple Facebook post or a blog post, and he shares them. And it's really poignant. It's often these images with the interview snippet. They're just really good at humanizing other people. Kind of personalizing them in a moment. It's just really, really powerful. And there was a photo or interview I came across the other day of a young woman sitting on her suitcase. And I don't know if she was in a terminal of some kind, but the quote that was shared with it is this: "I wish I'd partied a little less. People always say, be true to yourself, but that's misleading because there are two selves. There's the short-term self and there's the long-term self. And if you're only true to your short-term self, your long-term self slowly decays." And I thought with the theme of this episode being playing the long game, what we're really getting at is investing in your future success instead of just looking out for your immediate needs. And that was something that I thought was a really good example of why this theme is important, because I think everybody can relate to the idea of getting to a certain point in their life and going, if only I had. Maybe now a lot of people are like, if only I learned to code when I was 15, I could be doing or whatever. But based on our conversation so far, Tammy, I feel like this is a mode of thinking or operation that you probably have a lot of experience with, where you probably had opportunity to stay in a corporate path or to do things that were maybe more immediately secure for you and your family, but you chose
Hmm.
to invest. And I was wondering if you could just speak to the kind of balance that you had to strike between your immediate needs and your future aspirations.
Well, with freelancing and with businesses, you have your feast and your famine period. So, yes,
Hmm.
a few times I had considered maybe I should just give all of this up. And I must say that I'm glad that I never gave it up because, for one, I have children who are coming up, and this is something that I feel that they'll be able to benefit from my experience as a business owner, and they'll take off with it, um, and they'll be better at it, having me trailblaze before them.
Hmm.
So I definitely see the benefit of staying the course. The last job that I held was back in 2007, and it was a great job. I really enjoyed working there. I learned lots of things. It was nice to be in the community at the company, and of course, the salary is always great. But just like anything in other businesses, they lost one good contract, and then
Hmm.
before you know it, it was a death spiral.
Yeah.
Other government entities just started jumping ship, and before
Hmm.
you know it, they were laying off people. One group, second group, third group, and
Hmm.
we're like, okay, we know what's going to happen
Yeah.
eventually, but ultimately, they closed the office down here in Orlando, and I was really grateful that I still had my business.
Yeah.
So
So
all
you had
along,
shifted it to the side for a little
yes, I
while and
sort
kind
of
of scaled it down. That was one of the other things
exactly.
I think we talked about in our pre-interview was, I guess I always referred to it. I don't know if I ever told you I referred to it this way, but the way I thought about it was kind of like the art of scaling, because I've had to do this
Hmm.
in my own work too. Is I started a digital publishing company years ago, and I still maintain parts of it to this day, but I kind of scale it based on the circumstances that I'm in. And you had talked about how, you'd homeschooled your kids and you'd had other things come up. You've had, if you don't want me to mention this, we can cut it, but you mentioned you had a long-term illness or an illness that took a significant chunk of your time out, and you had to manage these things and your business. And so but you were able to scale your business, as the boss of your own time.
That's right.
In order to fit your life. And I thought that was really cool. Do you have any, I don't know, anecdotes or stories or experience about those moments that maybe would help someone going through a time where they're unsure how to manage their business or their time?
Well, I'm gonna say the one thing that helped get me through those time periods of transition and scaling back is to be a little transparent with your customers. I told them as much as they needed to know without them panicking. Most of the time, they're only concerned about whether they're going to be okay, whether if they need help, it's handled. So to a certain degree, I was transparent with what was going on in my life. The only thing that my customers knew was that their work was being taken care of, and all was well. Only thing that I did do was I didn't take on new work. So
okay. And so did you have like some maintenance plans that you just sort of maintained? Was that kind of your, okay, gotcha.
I did. And when they had needed technical support or needed help, either I could assist or I would have an assistant assist during those time periods. So to make a long story short, having your customers understand that, while you're not accepting new work, you are still part of their team. Also having a support system of your own for those time periods when you want to hold on to your business. You need to have colleagues that can step in and help during those time periods. And
so how have you managed that, or how have you attracted colleagues as a solopreneur? I mean, have you just made friends in the community and passed work onto them? Is that what?
Yes. I've always known others in town who do the same work from years ago. Other people who are web developers who are friends. I was able to call on. And now with Divi, we're making new connections with people who share the same interest in a more deeper area by using Divi.
Not just web developers, not just WordPress users, but all of the above, plus specific theme user and plugin users as well. So it's a lot in common.
Yes, I'm finding myself more attracted to working with others who use Divi as opposed to others who just use WordPress. So that has really changed the game of who would be a part of a development team or projects. So
that brings me to another thing I wanted to talk to you about, which is the choice you made to specifically work with Divi and the advantages that it might have over, say, working with another framework or working with another theme, or working outside of WordPress for that matter. Can you tell us some of the reasons that you decided to create a Divi-centered business as opposed to working with another framework or another theme or outside of WordPress altogether?
I found the Divi page builder being the easiest way to sell a website to a person who has been a little concerned or scared of getting a website. Some people want to be able to make their own simple changes. They don't want to be charged a maintenance fee for changing some content in a website. In the past, it's still been kind of difficult. If a person is using a WordPress for a website, changing some text on a homepage may still be kind of challenging. Because of the div tabs and different things like that. It's not a regular blog post page. So a lot of times clients have run away from the ease of using WordPress. They don't think it's that easy,
Right. Because they don't know how hard it is to use something else, probably.
Yes, exactly. I think that the page builder layout with Divi has really made things so much easier for my clients to go in and just change the text module. Most of the time, that's all we want to change.
Yeah.
So,
and with Divi 2.5, you can
really
now
like
control what modules they even have access to change. So There's really no
Yes,
fear of them getting into somewhere where they don't know what they're
exactly.
doing, which is really cool. So it's
Yes,
easier to sell. That's a great one.
yes.
How has it affected your productivity? How many websites you're able to manage and build at a time?
Yes, it has. Now, instead of working on one good project per month, I can work on, goodness, I think I can, even by myself, I can manage about 6 different websites a month using Divi.
So
Being able
is there a
to,
difference between manage and create in this instance? Are you kind of lumping those together? Like, are you
I
creating
am
6 new
lumping those
websites,
together.
or are you managing them with like maintenance? What do you? I just want to be
I'm
clear.
sorry. I meant creating.
Oh wow, so that's actually
Create.
quite a bit. So you can
Yes,
create 6 websites in a given month
yes,
using
yes.
Divi. Wow, that's impressive.
Being able to save the library
Yeah.
features in the library really makes a difference, and being able to catalog those things and keeping a really good file system on your computer of different tool sets,
Mm.
so that you'll know how to just go grab all the different tools you need in order to create the uh, the features you want on a website really makes a huge difference.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And we already mentioned the Divi community and how big a difference that's already making, and the ways in which you can just instantly get feedback and help and support. Let's see. One thing I've heard other people talk about, and I don't know if this is true for you, but the fact that so many people use WordPress, um, it, and even if you were just to stay within the Elegant Themes community, which is, I think we just went over 300,000 members. Um, there just seems to be no lack of work within either of those communities, whether it's Elegant Themes
Yes.
itself or WordPress as the larger community. Have you found that to be true for you?
Yes, I have. As a matter of fact, just deciding to work with Divi exclusively has given me the opportunity to um, build my website's search rank around Divi.
Okay.
And
So you've actually probably gotten more business instead
yes,
of less by offering wider variety of websites.
yes. And now able to stop pursuing local work, and basically I get all of my business online from the Divi community.
Oh,
People
wow.
who are seeking people who design Divi websites
Oh, wow. That's
and
awesome.
customizations. So it's been great working with Divi. I like the community, and I think that it's in its infancy. A
Hmm.
lot of opportunity
Yeah.
and working with the theme, coming up with different products and services related.
Yeah, because I mean, we're really seeing sort of a explosion of Divi related businesses pop up. I mean, I
Hmm.
know just from the people we've had on the podcast, there's a couple of child theme companies. You sell child themes as well
Hmm.
as customized websites and blog designs. There's Divi courses coming out. There's all kinds of stuff
Yes,
within the community where people are taking advantage of this. And like I said, there just doesn't seem to be a shortage of interest in any one direction. Like nobody's losing out by clumping
right.
together and doing Divi stuff and even promoting other Divi businesses.
Hmm.
It's not like there seems to be a shortage. So here's my question, and this. We're not short on time or anything. You don't need to rush, but if it ends
Okay.
up being our parting thought, that's cool too, because one thing that I want to make sure we give people with this interview is some guidance on how they can start to invest in themselves, and if they're interested in investing in themselves by getting more plugged into to Divi community.
Hmm.
I guess I'm just wondering, what are some beneficial ways in which someone who wants to do that can start to begin to interact with the Divi community in a way that invests in their own long-term success?
I'm gonna say you need to jump in. Just start. I guess buy the Divi theme and start using it. I think the best way you're gonna know how what questions to ask is to find a look
Make a
to a
lot of
website.
mistakes.
Yes, you're really just gonna have to get in and get your hands dirty.
Mm.
I'm gonna say one of the best ways to see what you can do with Divi is to find a non-Divi website and attempt to rebuild it in Divi.
Mm.
And along the way, you're gonna have tons of questions. This is how you'll end up interacting with Divi community. And of course, the more you learn, the more you'll be able to give to the Divi community in the way of helping someone else who is just starting out on that journey.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's great. I actually really like that idea of finding a website that's not Divi related or that's not built with Divi and trying to recreate it, because I think some people are worried that if they start using Divi, all their websites are going to look like Divi. Which to be fair, if you keep everything more or less standard, more or less as it comes, then yeah, there's a Divi look, and that's totally fine. However, I think that exercise is a really good exercise. Find something that's completely unrelated to Divi, maybe not even built with WordPress, I don't know, and just try to recreate it, because there are ways that you can do that. Hopefully if you're brand new, you won't find that too daunting, but it's going to be a challenge either way. And the communities are great too. I mean, everybody from the official support team and the forums to the really unofficial but highly active Facebook groups, there's a lot of good advice out there, and there's a lot of people willing to help. So I found that just posting a quick question in any of those places, you'll get pretty fast answers and you'll solve your issue. And then, like you said, as soon as you have your own answers, you can share those with other people, and it just kind of grows and builds on itself.
Yes, it does.
All right. Well, I don't have anything else. We really ran through our questions. Is there anything, I guess, to go through on a parting thought here? If someone, we talked about what you can do for Divi community and investing in yourself and how you can start to jump in there. What would be something, and maybe this is just a question about your perspective, but what was something that helped you on a personal level decide to play the long game as opposed to just do what was safe and secure in the moment?
Well, old age. You have to have something when you in your elderly years. Unfortunately, I see so many elderly working retail, and I always wonder, what did they do during their younger years, and were they just sort of forced into work after retirement, not having any up-to-date skills, that sort of thing.
So really, just a fear of
being obsolete.
Yeah, getting to a place where you didn't have anything of, I guess, relevant technical experience to offer. It strikes me that investing in your own long-term success is another way of investing in, the next generation's success. I know you've mentioned your kids several times and how important it was for you to homeschool them and foster their interest in business and entrepreneurship themselves, kind of pass the torch. So would you say that, legacy is a big part of this as well?
Yes, legacy, definitely. I want to pave the way for my children. My parents were not entrepreneurs, and my husband's parents weren't. And I'm the first really in my family that has really taken an interest. So I'm really hoping that I can pass down all of my knowledge and experience to my daughters so that they could move forward with that same mindset. I have one in college now, and if she could have it her way, she'll never work for anyone.
For anyone but herself. That's awesome.
Yes, we'll see if that happens, but I think there's rich experiences with working with others. So I do encourage her to seek internships and such, but I believe her long-term goals are to be an entrepreneur. And as far as leaving something behind with them and taking care of myself as I age and keeping my skill sets sharp and not being irrelevant, I want to make sure that I'm always constantly learning, especially in this field. If you blink an eye, you can easily be set behind. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that's a great, just the idea of, if you want to stay relevant, if you want to ensure that you have something to pass on, whether that's, your actual business or it's just skills and knowledge and advice that you've learned over the years as an entrepreneur. I think that's all really compelling reasons for people to think long term, to play the long game, and invest in their future success in whatever form that ends up taking. I think that's all for this episode, or this interview rather. Tammy, thank you so much for coming on Divi Nation.
Thank you.
Don't forget, if you're watching this video on YouTube or Facebook, take a moment to subscribe, follow, like, and or share.